Welcome to another episode of Inside Rangers Football. Smithson Valley moving on past the bi-district round as they beat Cedar Park this past Friday here at Ranger Stadium 30-7. Joined as always by Smithson Valley head coach Larry Hill. So coach, congratulations on the win. A quality opponent again in Cedar Park, able to get by them. What did it take to beat a team like that in the manner that you did?
Well, of course, both teams face the same problem in the sense that, we're battling a quality opponent. We're also battling Mother Nature. The temperature plummeted, as most people know, last Friday night. And then, of course, the wind, I think, was the biggest factor. 20, 25, 30 mile an hour wind really the whole game. Affected the passing game, affected the kicking game, of course, and then you're just cold. So, but I think we handled it. We didn't love it. I'm sure Cedar Park didn't love it either, but we did a nice job moving the football when we were going into the wind, so we didn't frequently have to punt from our own end of the field into that wind. We created some big kicking game plays. Of course, two punt returns, one for a touchdown. We were ahead 2-0. We had two takeaways and didn't turn the ball over. So kicking game, turnovers, the usual things against a quality opponent, and just kind of really it was just kind of a workman-like night. Not a whole lot of spectacular stuff, but we made, we didn't make a lot of mistakes, and we were able to grind out a win.
I remember in the preview of the game with you here last week, we talked about special teams and how big they were going to be, and then you throw in the, Mother Nature, as you said, yet the first three scores you have of the game come from kicks, with Amaya able to hit 3 field goals. Given the elements and given the nature of a playoff game, you just need points. Just how clutch was that from Amaya from a kicking perspective?
Yeah, it was real clutch. We had some drives that stalled, and they have a really strong defense up front, and we weren't able to go finish those drives. So to be able to get those kicks, 2 with the wind, but then that third one was into that heavy wind, and he nailed it and got it through there. And then I think that was a big key. And then the other big key was preventing their big plays. They didn't get any really explosive plays to speak of. A long throw, a long run. We made them drive the ball. Sometimes they couldn't, but even if they could, they couldn't finish. And then I think a huge play, of course, is scoring a touchdown on the last play of the half. We make the decision ahead 9-0, not to kick the field goal from the 2, but let's go for it. And we're 2 seconds left in the half, and we got the big throw and catch to Kyler Clark right in the corner of the end zone. It's a big difference going in at half 16-0 up in 9-0.
I wanted to ask you about that play specifically. As you said, 2 seconds to go. So if you don't convert on the pass, that's it. You don't get any points in that situation. Right. So it's a risk where the field goal feels a little bit more safe. Why the decision to go for the touchdown and not kick it there?
Well, 12-0. We're up 9-0 to go up 12-0 with another kick. Two touchdowns still puts them ahead, and so we felt like 12 it moves the needle a little bit, but we just thought risk reward going up 16. Now they've got at best their 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions from even tying us, and we just kind of felt like the way our defense was playing, that was a risk worth taking.
On the topic of special teams, getting back to it, again, throughout the year, Kyler Clark, Braden Bafidis have been your go-to players in the return game. Well, here comes David DeHoyas for you, in the third quarter. I really felt like it was his punt return for the score that really put the game away. Right. Take us back to that play and just how significant it was at that moment in time.
Well, they're punting with the wind. They're punting into the wind. None of us really had any returns. The ball would go 12, 15 yards and sputter out. But now they're punting with the wind, but from their end of the field. So the ball's going to carry. It's going to get out there. We're going to maybe get our hands on the ball. And we did. And, of course, we did a nice job of keeping him off of Dave, so he had some cushion. And then he picked up some blocks, and then he ran through a tackle. And we hadn't found a whole lot that David can't do, whether it's play defense as he's done for years, return punch now, as you mentioned, run the ball from tailback. So, it's not surprising that he took it in for the touchdown. But you're right, that put us up 23-0, and it's going to be hard to catch up from there.
Just how big was it in the game to win field position? It kind of felt like the entire night, either your offense is playing with a short field or you're forcing them to go a long way. Just how critical was that?
Well, our kicking game had a lot to do with that. We kicked off deep, but then we hold them. And now they got to punt into the wind, which gives our offense a short field. Of course, that can go the other way. There were a couple of times Cedar Park had the wind, kicked us back. Well, we returned one for a touchdown. They roll one dead on the one. I was real proud of our offense went out there and got a couple of first downs and got it. We weren't punting into a 30-mile-an-hour wind from our own end zone and giving them the ball maybe on the 20. We eventually did punt, turn the ball over on downs at the 50 and punted them back to their end. So you're right, that was big. Some of it we created with kicking game, some the weather created, and some our offense and defense created. But it was a big factor in the game.
Well, again, Smithson Valley a win over Cedar Park. They beat the Timberwolves this past Friday 30-7, and they're moving on to the second round to take on Manville. But first, we take a look at the big plays from the playoff win over Cedar Park as Coach Hill guides us through this week's Plays of the Week.
Well, there were some big plays, so let's go take a look. Our first play of the week is a defensive play. Big interception. You can see Cedar Park has the wind at their back, which, of course, that wind, if you were at the game, was strong Friday night. So they're thinking it's a good time for them to throw the football. But the circle there is an area they're going to try to throw the ball into that void. And Nicholas Dudzikowski, one of our junior outside linebackers who had 2 interceptions a week ago, is going to pick up his third in 2 ball games. So as the play unfolds, you can see they bring in a man in motion. They're going to try to hit that void that I indicated a minute ago. He's going right into that vacated area. It looks like they've got a chance for a pretty good play. But as the ball's thrown, Gavin Woods, a senior middle linebacker, gets his hand up and tips the ball up in the air. And when he does, Nicholas Dudzikowski's in the right place at the right time, comes down with the football. And that great field position with the wind is now thwarted. And our offense gets the ball on the 40-yard line going in. Just a big momentum changer that negates the wind advantage that was so heavy last Friday night. From the end zone, you can see it well. There's Gavin Woods, our middle linebacker, the man that's going to tip this football. They're bringing their guy in motion. The ball is snapped. You can see their guys knifing right into that area. That's where they're going to try to throw it. And when they do, there's Gavin. Got that big right hand up and gets just enough of it. You see the ball there, and here comes Nicholas Dudzikowski with the pick. And then the return down our sideline sets our offense up. We go in and get a field goal and begin to pull away a little bit. Now, our second play of the week is another punt return. Look at all those blocks there. Too many to highlight, but you can see we're keeping the Cedar Park coverage team from getting down the field. They're punting with the wind whipping 25, 30 miles an hour the other night. The punt's going to carry. So we're doing a nice job of keeping off our guy down there, and that's David De Hoyos that's catching it in the back. And you look at that wall there that's indicated by the line. We've kept all but one of them off of David about 20 yards away. The last one is picked up by the other returner, Braden Bafidis, right there with that block. So David's got a lot of room, and he splits them. Got to make one man miss. He does. He goes through that arm tackle, and then got one more block right there, and then it's just him and the punter. And David, you can see David kind of giving some marching orders to Gavin Woods. Block that guy, block that guy, block that guy. We get just enough of him right there on the 20. And then David's able to run through the push there at the 8-yard line and take it in for the touchdown. Just a greatly timed play, really put the game away in the sense that we made it a 3-score game at that point. From behind the punt team, watch it unfold. There's our 2 returners. David De Hoyos is on the right, Braden Bafidis on the left. Of course, all our guys up front here, the ball's punted. And there's all these blocks that we're talking about right here. You can see David fields the ball, got that great cushion between him and the coverage team. And there's Braden Bafidis' block on the first man down, picking up double team block there. Another one here from Jackson Maynard. Now we're up the sideline. David's got to run through that one tackle, and he's able to do it. There's the punter on the left, Gavin on the right. David telling him, get him. Gets just enough of him, runs through that at the 8-yard line, runs through that push, and gets it in the end zone. Just a big play, really, as I said, began to put the game away. Our offensive play of the week is a little zigzag play. We got our freshman Quentin Sampson coming in motion from the top of the screen. Braden Bafidis, who's in the sidecar of the quarterback, he's going to go the other way, trying to present a little bit of a sleight of hand to the defense. Who's got the ball? We pitch it forward, but we hope there's some pause there, like who caught that ball? In this case, it was Braden. You can see the defense kind of thinks it's Quentin, so that he draws 3 or 4 defenders over here. And now Braden gets a block from our senior tight end, Mason Birch, there on the right. And our junior offensive tackle on the left, Jeremiah Jenkins. They create an alley for him to get in. And then he hits it. And Doug Lance, our halfback or tailback on the play, blocks the corner. Braden's able to skip it up in there and get about an 18, 19-yard gain on just kind of a well-executed play. From the end zone, you can see there comes Jeremiah Jenkins, our tackle. He gets a block right there on the linebacker, the one who recognizes what the play is, and then JJ seals him to the inside, and Braden's able to outrun that. There are those blocks that we mentioned, Doug Lance on the left, Mason Birch on the right, and then Braden shooting through the gap. He can make people miss, as we've seen him do time and time again. And those are our plays of the week.
Coach, I want to kind of expand a little bit more on that defensive play. Your linebackers, Gavin Woods and then Dud Zukowski, both combining to make that play. Gavin on the tip, Dud Zukowski on the actual pick. We spoke, I think last week it was, about how your defensive front has really set the tone for this defense. And then the back end's been really good this year as well. Certainly, David DeHoyas, back there kind of the captain of that secondary. The linebackers, just how valuable has their play been throughout the season?
Well, you don't play good defense without good linebackers, but some of those kids you mentioned are just such well-rounded players. These are guys that play linebacker, but certainly could play anything else. You're already seeing that. They're a big two-sport guys. We take a lot of pride here on multi-sport players. Gavin's fine baseball player, Dud Zukowski, big-time wrestler. Cage Bradlin's a track kid. You look at our linebackers, they're that kind of kid, guys with offensive backgrounds, guys who've played quarterback, tight end, things of that nature. So they're that kind of player. And the ball's in the air. They think it's theirs. But they're real smart players. They do a nice job of recognizing formations and alignments, making checks, that they put themselves in the right position. And then they're good enough players to go make plays once they recognize what's coming.
And by the way, Dud Zukowski is a great wrestling name that fits him really well. So
yeah, he's got to get a ring name, but we'll worry about that a little bit later on when football's over.
Smithson Valley again taking on Manville this Friday in Bastrop in the area around a game we're going to preview coming up next, right after this on Inside Rangers Football.
2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. All for the Rangers, stand up and holler!
Ow! No, what's wrong? I really hurt my leg. That's horrible. Wait, Elle's dad sells insurance. Maybe he can help.
I wish he could, but...
My dad has his life insurance with Jeremy Fuller State Farm Insurance.
Yes, but...
My mom has her homeowner's policy with Jeremy Fuller State Farm Insurance also.
I know my uncle says he only trusts Jeremy Fuller State Farm with his auto insurance needs.
Guys, wait! We do so many great coverages, but just not cheerleader legs.
Hey, that's okay. It's all better now. Let's start from the top, but with a little change.
2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. All for Jeremy Fuller State Farm Insurance, stand up and holler!
Yay!
Fisher's Neighborhood Market is the only stop you need before and after game time. Get everything you need, plus a whole lot of things, well, you just want. Fisher's Neighborhood Market. Food, fuel, fun.
This week in Rangers Trivia, this Friday, Smithson Valley is playing for his first win of the second round of the playoffs since 2015. Who did the Rangers beat in their last area round victory? Is the answer A, Stevens, B, Brandeis, or C, Jay? The answer is A, Stevens. The Rangers blew out the Falcons that night 35-0 on their way to the region finals that year. Smithson Valley is playing for another second-round win and even further run of the playoffs should they defeat Manville this Friday.
Now on to the preview of the opponent coming up this Friday in round 2. The Manville Mavericks, record of 8-3 out of the Alvin ISD Greater Houston area. A 42-3 win over Waltrip from this past week to punch their ticket to the second round. Coach, this is a program that hasn't been around all that long, about 15 years now, but they've accomplished so much in a short amount of time. It was just 5 years ago they were in the state finals. They've been playoff regulars, a really good program out of a really good high school football rich area in Houston. You said it before, in the playoffs you play nothing but these types of programs. What stands out about Manville?
Well, you mentioned their tradition. They've been in the state championship game, played for it twice, I think, been 3, 4, 5 rounds several other times. They're used to playing this time of year. It's not new to them. They have good coaches, they have good players, they have good community support. They play in a tough league, that they're tested on, throughout the year. So, unfortunately, we're up against it. But, the uniqueness of our situation, we're not in Region 4, we're in Region 3. So, we played a bunch of new people this year in our district that we haven't played in years or ever. And now, a lot of times in our 6A run, the first couple of rounds, we're playing Madison, we're playing Reagan, or we're playing Westlake, Lake Travis, but people that we have bumped into many times before. So we know a lot about them, even though we don't play them in the regular season. Manville, we had a little introduction to they've heard about them because they know, our players heard about them because they've won so much. But who are they? We didn't play youth football with 3 of their guys. Oh yeah, I know that guy. Or a friend of my dad's, yeah, his son plays there. There's none of that. And really, if you look at our playoff route, Cedar Park was that way, Manville's that way. If we're fortunate enough to advance, it'll be that way for the next on into the playoffs. So we're learning a little bit about them. They're learning a little bit about us, but it doesn't take long on tape to figure out how good they are.
You mentioned on tape, but again, the most recent sample you have of theirs is their win over Waltrip last week, 42-3. They played last Thursday. They'll have that one extra day of rest going into the Friday game this week. But as you've looked back at that win of theirs over Waltrip, what really jumped out when looking at them on film?
Well, they got on them quick. They scored just every drive and played great defense every drive, and it was over quick. I think it was 4-2-0 at the half.
It was, yeah.
And so they got a lot of kids in the game in the second half and just kind of ran out the clock. But that game aside, a highly competitive league, with Angleton and Fulshear and Magnolia West, teams that we've gotten to know are really good by watching them on tape. And so they're battle tested. They'll be a prepared and confident football team in Bastrop on Friday.
You look at the offense of theirs, averaging about 31 points a game, and what really impresses me is that there's not a bell cow. You look at the backfield, and they really kind of split carries, between 2 different players. When it comes to the passing game, there's multiple targets that Caden Smith can throw to. Smith himself, very good dual threat quarterback. He can certainly make plays with his arm and with his legs. Is there a comparable offense you face this season that compares to what you'll see this Friday?
In their throwing game, they're similar to Canyon. With that style of quarterback and fleet of receivers, very similar. Their run game is perhaps different than Canyon. They run the ball more than Canyon. They're very balanced. Run game wise, they're similar maybe to Harker Heights, somebody we played earlier in the year there. So. And defensively, very similar to Harker Heights and some others that were Canyon and a few others that we played in a 4-down look. So similar, but not the same. And and those teams I mentioned, we haven't played in a long time. So we're having to do a little homework this week.
You don't get this far into the season without playing good defense, and certainly Manville has. Again, held Waltrip to just 3 points last week in a playoff game over the course of the season, more than 30 sacks, 19 turnovers forced. What challenges do you feel like they're going to present to your offense this Friday?
Well, they're very talented up front. They play a 4-man front, 4-down front, and they're athletic at each position. So it's not like, well, we better stay away from this one, but we can pick on these 2 guys. There's none of that, as you would expect when you're playing this far into the playoffs. A lot of man coverage, very confident in their coverage abilities. And their secondary is talented and plays the run as well. So, I don't know that it'll be a different game for us. We do what we do, just like they're going to do what they do. But certainly we'll have to keep an eye on their safeties and get them accounted for in the run game. And then we're going to have to make some plays up the field in our passing game.
It probably does go without saying that once again, special teams is going to loom large in a game like this.
Well, we're going to need for it too on our part. And of course, the good thing about that is that's not something our players don't hear all the time anyway. They hear about it. It's the first thing they do when they roll in Saturday morning before we watch any offensive and defensive tape. We break down the special teams tape and go through that and first thing they do on Monday morning before we start talking about this new opponent is we talk about this new opponent's kicking game. And so, you know, we're certainly going to go into the game trying to be prepared in that area. Now, whether we make plays there or not, or enough plays there to win, we'll find out.
Again, Smithson Valley taking on Manville. It is the area round, a trip to the region quarterfinals on the line, and they take on one another this Friday at Bastrop, a 7 o'clock kickoff. Coach, best of luck against the Mavericks.
Appreciate it, Brent. Thank you.
All right, that's going to wrap up this week's show. For head coach Larry Hill, I'm Brent Freeman. As always, you've been watching Inside Rangers Football. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.